Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our conversation about the book of Ruth. Yesterday, as we used the book of Ruth and talked about the many layers of it, we talked about the fact that it is a book of love stories. There are 3 love stories in the book of Ruth, and over the next 3 days, we'll talk about those 3 love stories. And the first love story is the love story between Naomi and Ruth. It is the driving feature of the book. It's where the book begins and it's where the book ends. The book ends with the women saying, the woman of Bethlehem saying, "Your daughter-in-law who loves you is better to you than 7 sons," which is such a startling and an amazing and an affirming thing to read in the Word so many years ago. We said yesterday that this is a woman's book, and it really is a woman's book. Boaz is important in the end. Boaz, because of the society in which they live, has to be, the redeemer, the savior, the person who makes things right, because he's the man who has money and he's the one who has power. But it really is a woman's story, and completely from their perspective. Although all 3 of the main characters are drawn so fully. And reinforcing the fact that it is a woman's story is the chorus of voices that we have, the women of Bethlehem, who chime in when Naomi returns, and then bring us the moral of the story at the very end. And so years before, Sophocles and Euripides and Aristophanes started putting choruses in their works, we have the chorus of women who comment, who point things out, and who bring us the conclusion in this book, which is an amazing thing by itself. So in this story, Naomi and her husband Elimelech go to Moab after hard times in Judah, and try to make a living there. It's not that far away, 50 miles, 70 miles away. It's been that's a lot further then than it is now, because they would have traveled it on foot. But it's not really that far away. And they make a living among the Moabites, and they have 2 sons. Let's remind ourselves who the Moabites are. The Moabites are the descendants of Lot. That awful episode in the book of Genesis where Lot's 2 daughters get their dad drunk, and they both have children by their dad. The Moabites and the Ammonites are the people descended from those from that episode. And the Moabites are a hostile people to the Israelites throughout the history that we read in the Old Testament. And the Moabites practice a pretty awful form of idolatry. Their main god, Chemosh, demands human sacrifice, and the sacrifice particularly of children. And what people would do is there would be a bonfire to Chemosh, and they would throw their babies into the bonfire and to sacrifice them to Chemosh. So it's about as brutal, awful, a thing that you can imagine people doing in the name of religion. And these are the people from which their sons, Naomi's and Elimelech's, take wives. But these women that they marry are such good women, Orpah and Ruth, and they both love their mother-in-law so deeply, so that when it happens that the men die, as men do in ancient times, the bond between these 3 women is so strong that the 2 daughters-in-law don't want to leave Naomi. And Naomi says, "I cannot provide you sons. I can't bring you husbands. You need to go back home to your own families and start all over again because you're still young." They both weep. They hold on to her in chapter 1, verses 6 through 14. They don't want to leave her. They're weeping, so vocally. But Orpah is finally convinced. Ruth will not leave her mother-in-law. And when Naomi points this out and says, "Look, your sister-in-law's already gone," Ruth says, "Do not urge me to leave you." or turn back from following you. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God will be my God. And wherever you die, that's where I will die, and there will I be buried. Thus may Yahweh, she invokes his name, thus may Yahweh do to me, and worse, if anything but death parts you and me. These words are used in so many weddings because they are covenant words, and they are words that express the deepest possible love, but not between a husband and a wife, but between a mother and a daughter. And if you can imagine, you know, this good woman, which Naomi is, or these two girls would not love her so deeply, bringing these women, these daughters into her home and treating them like daughters and loving them. This might be the one time they are exposed to what a loving home looks like. And so it is this love story that plays out throughout the rest of the book. It is Ruth's caring for her daughter-in-law, taking her back home to her people, showing her how to navigate that new culture, telling her exactly what to do, arranging to find her a husband when she said, I can't find you any husbands, and yet finding her a husband and bringing about this happy ending for her because she loves her as if she were her own child and acts like that. And when the women at the end of the book say, your daughter-in-law who loves you is better to you than 7 sons, we know that that's absolutely the truth. Well, tomorrow we'll talk about the love story between Boaz and Ruth. Thank you for joining me for nearly 7 good minutes today.